Okay, we're straight in with the sounds today. Really excited to have programmed some new stuff in the pedalboard that I'm going to share with you using the Mood Mark II, the HX Stomp, the Delver, the Frantabit. Really nice combinations of stuff, all in stereo. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. And make sure you're wearing headphones. That is where we're going to really dive into the stereo-ness of it all. Before we get into all of that, don't forget the new book, How to Transcribe, is available for pre-order right now. It's linked below in the description of the video. And something we are definitely talking about and reminiscing about, going into nostalgia mode a little bit in this episode, is touring in the past, what that was, what that meant, what that was specifically for me, how that looks in the future a little bit. The reason I'm thinking about that, the reason I'm feeling a little nostalgic is because after the release of Found, the new album, and in fact, after the release of most of my recent albums, I don't get tens of thousands or even hundreds, but I do get enough requests from people saying, hey, I'm not really a massive fan of streaming services. I would really like to buy the music. I'd like to download it sort of old school digital, how it used to be in the early days of iTunes. You could purchase the music. You could own the music. You could get it in high fidelity. You could get it in MP3s, all of that kind of stuff. I do get, it's a lot of requests. It's not zero, it's not a million, but it's enough to have made me open what I'm calling the record store. It's a new feature at my store, and it is, as you will see, currently, I think I put 20 or 25 albums up there. It's a mixture of live stuff, what we're going to be talking about later on in the podcast, from touring, from bands past, from the last 20 years of being on the road as a band leader, plus all of my studio albums and official releases that you will have seen possibly on Spotify and Apple Music. It's all going to be up there. Eventually, all of it, all of it. I think it's a crazy number. I was just trying to figure out exactly how many shows I have with my own band that I managed to get some record of, and some record is very important. We'll address that in just a second. But I've, like, in the last couple of days, I've found close to 300 shows already. And considering there are 20 years of them, that could double or even triple quite easily in the coming weeks. Obviously, it's a gargantuan task to put all of that stuff up on the website and, you know, make little artwork for it. I've obviously, as you will see, I've kept it pretty simple, but just filling in all the information, writing out the set list, trying to remember exactly the dates that we played those shows, exactly what the clubs were. A lot of the venues don't even exist anymore. Remembering who was in the band, what tour it was. You know, when you wind the memory back 20 years, a few things get a little hazy. Now, I said some record of some of those shows. The audio quality varies greatly. When you think about a show I played in maybe 2006, the tools available to us were not even an iPhone with a voice recorder on it, which would have done probably a better job than some of these things. I remember we were using an iPod at one point, various Zoom recorders, but quite lo-fi in the beginning. So some of them are just MP3s, and they are pretty basic. Some of them not great in terms of the audio quality, but there are a few moments that I was like, the audio quality isn't great, but holy crap, this is my band with like Randy Brecker as a guest or something. Like, just amazing moments for me anyway, that you know, is where the nostalgia kicks in, where I look back on all that, on that time and all those shows we played. I was really, really fortunate to be able to get some of my just all-time heroes in the same room, not only to be playing with them, but for them to be playing my music with me was just huge. So I'm very excited to be able to share that with you. A lot of those bands that happened only one time. There is a bootleg out there with Randy Brecker on it. There are two shows, two separate shows from the same night with Adam Rogers and Sean Rickman. I'm going to play you some samples in just a little bit. And I also I wrote notes here. I was like, I want to do like 3 things in today's episode. And I have a dominant sound, like a 5 sound going to 1, which I was thinking about, okay, maybe I'll explain a little bit of that because it's something I've been working on recently in terms of my linear playing. So, am I going to do that first? It's a shape that I got from the Slonimsky. The whole thing for me is about connecting that to the one, connecting this 5 sound to 1, so C7 to F minor. And all of like the resolution points and the connection points between the 5 sound and the 1. So yeah, let's do a little bit of that now. I'm going to get into, I'll play you some of the bootlegs a little bit later. And of course, we're going to get into that monster sound that I had, the stereo sound from the pedal board. But let's get into the linear thing. And I just want to share it with you while it's fresh, while it's something that I'm actually working on this week, for instance. The shape, it's not complicated. It's a whole step down, minor third up, and a tritone up. C, B flat, D flat, G. Now, in line with the new transcription book being available for pre-order and that being sort of my main focus, I probably shouldn't have told you the exact notes. And much like last week's episode, I should have just played it over and over again, nice and slowly, so you could get that shape and just the sound of those intervals, whole step, minor third, tritone. And then moving that in minor thirds. So even though this one's starting on C and our harmony is C7 sharp 9 going to F minor, you can play that in minor thirds. So even though we start on an A natural or an F sharp or an E flat, those are all iterations of the shape. If you have the sound of that 5 in your head, I want to resolve it, and we will in a second, but that's kind of the process I'm going through. I try and either put something with some rhythm in it, something that will give me some discipline in terms of time, or if I capture just a little bit of silence in the looper, I can swell in the entire chord. If you don't have a freeze pedal, I don't happen to have a freeze pedal or a freeze block in my HX Stomp dialed up right now. So a quick way around that, if I want a pad of the tonality I'm playing over, just record a little bit of silence in the looper and then then engage the record button again and swell in the sound I'm playing. So there's no hard start and end point of the loop. So now you hear that pad behind the linear idea, giving you some context for the line. And there are a couple of different ways I'm working on just the technical element of getting this line under my fingers. One being repetition, and perhaps that's 4 times in each position. So 4 times on C, 4 times on E flat, 4 times on F sharp, and 4 times on A. And that's something I've been working on over time. Obviously, you can hear it's quite fluent and fluid under my fingers. There aren't too many hitches in it right now because I've worked on that technical element of it so much with repetition. 4 times, 2 times, 1 time, just moving all over the neck of the instrument, wherever my range will allow me. Yeah, really important just to work the whole neck of the instrument. Doesn't matter how your bass is tuned. Mine is tuned E through C, whether you have a 4-string like I have here in the background, or a 5-string with a low B, 6-string, it doesn't matter. Just work the entire range of the instrument, and you'll be a lot better off for it. So what I wanted to talk about in terms of the connectivity between the 5 and the 1 chord is to start to notice. So this might be a good place to start. When you start with it on the root of the 5 chord, so C7 here, and our line starts on C natural. And the last note of the line, 4-note line, is this G natural. Now that could go one of two ways in terms of voice leading. It could of course go to any note anywhere, but in terms of that smooth voice leading and sort of cohesiveness of the idea, I don't like to move more than a half step or a whole step when I resolve it somewhere. So I'm looking for a connection that ends up going to a resolution, a half step or a whole step away. And if I go up a half step, I'm there with my 1 chord, my F minor. I go up a half step to A flat, which is the minor 10th here, minor 3rd of F. So maybe that's a good exercise. Play it 4 times to have the sound of the 5 chord, and then resolve to the F. Now we could come down a whole step from there to the root, and that's the root of the F minor. And I would repeat that in every position. So there are 4 places to play that idea in this using minor 3rd. So C, E flat, F sharp, and A. And they all have similar resolution points, connection and resolution points, as our first example on C. So if we go up to the E flat, we could go up a whole step to C natural, the 5th of our F minor. We could go down a whole step to our old friend A flat, one that we used in the first example. Now if we start on F sharp, couple of interesting places to go here. Obviously, the obvious one and the most resolving one would be to come down a half step, get up to a top note and come down a half step to C, which is the 5th of the tonic. There's the other option. We go up a half step and actually hit this natural 6. Just depends what kind of 1 sound you're going for. Are you going for a very kind of classical triadic thing? Are you going for this 1 sound that's a minor 6? Is it a 1 that's a minor major? Maybe there are all different kinds of resolutions of 1 chords when it comes to minor. But that's not a bad one. You could also go up a whole step. Maybe your 1 is F minor 9 in this case, and you could go up a whole step. It's not as clean to me, and I don't really hear that as being a strong resolution, but it is an option, and maybe in the context of something more through composed or something improvised, something that maybe isn't hanging out too long on the 1. I don't like it. Maybe that's a really good example of something that needs more work conceptually for me to make that leap function better in the music. Let's go to our final position on A. So very obvious, with the top note of the line being E natural, go up a half step and resolve to the root. Another tricky one, you could go down a whole step and resolve to the minor 7, down a half step rather, and resolve to the minor 7. Maybe go down a whole step and resolve to the natural 6. Maybe stay on the E natural and make it a minor major. Either way, you now have, for your practice routine, a shape that you can play in 4 different positions, going from a 5 chord to a 1 chord And you have the idea of a connecting note and a resolution note, something that's going somewhere, something that's going to help you resolve to that destination. I feel like I'm doing a TV show that has segments now. I've done the lesson segment. That's it. But really, it's not a TV show at all. It was never designed to have segments. That's just what's on my mind. I would like to play you some of these. Am I going to do the bootlegs or am I going to do the big sound? See, the big sound is so tasty. And I put something here. Let's do that. Fuck it. Gonna open up the tone a little bit on my bass. You hear the difference? When you use when you get those percussive elements, the opening up the tone really gives you a little more. So I'm palm muting on the right hand and doing a lot of muting with the left hand as well. And the sound that I have programmed in here, the nature of it, there's a lot going on in there without having to fret a note. You can hear some synth elements, some sort of gated fuzz things, obviously the big stereo reverb. You don't actually have to do a lot or play even any actual notes to really start making music. I think that's what I'm most excited about with this sound. That could go on for the entire rest of the episode. Just wanted to share that with you. I have some, actually I did say I was using the Mood Mark II. And let's explain the signal chain just briefly. I have the Franta-bit, the Iron Ether Franta-bit ahead of everything. That's what you get. That's where you're hearing the fuzz element from. If I turn off all the other stuff, I'll give you an example of these sounds on their own. So if we just hear the natural sound of the bass at the Franta-bit, that's that. Then I have the harmony. Crazy how much different it sounds on its own. And then really making an example of what the tone control is doing to the sound. So that's no tone. This is really giving me some range. And then when I add in the reverb and put the Franta-bit back on, and of course, you know, with all of that stuff going on, the touch changes so much. It's a completely different vibe in terms of the feel under the fingers. And then what I've been doing is grabbing just a little snippet of that sound, nothing rhythmically specific, just the sound of this. and putting it in the mood and kind of manipulating it. I'll show you. And with the clock knob, the one that's right in the center, if you know Chase Bliss pedals, I'm afraid I don't have the overhead camera on this one, but just winding up the clock, kind of going through the different harmonies until I get to the spot that it feels nice in the background as an ambient pad. And I've got the spread on, so if you're listening with headphones, you're getting that full stereo effect of it moving from the right over to the left now, and back and forth. I don't really want it as a rhythmic loop, just something as a presence in the background. Kind of pretty crazy what you can do on your own with, I was going to say limited amounts of stuff. It's not limited at all. These are crazy expensive pedals. Some of them aren't even made anymore, but it is quite a compact setup in terms of space and weight. Maybe not price, admittedly, but to be able to take that on the road and throw that out in stereo into a big sound system into the house and make massive sounds just from the bass, that makes your band sound pretty big. That is a great segue into what I want to talk about with these bootlegs. Some of the nostalgia element of this sort of amazed me, like what I used to have on the road in terms of gear, what I used to take. There was none of this. I had no HX Stomp. On one of the tours, like TC Electronic made this crazy heavy, like foot controller, like this huge Starship Enterprise looking thing. I forget what it was called. It's a long time ago. I think on that 2009 tour, I used it a little bit. And really it was just to put some of my other pedals in an effects loop and be able to turn them on and off and have them always on and maybe have some control. I don't know. It was a big freaking thing. That's what I'm trying to say, is that it had almost no functionality and was really heavy and cumbersome. And when I listen back and hear that, I'm like, holy crap, I didn't have any of that stuff, but I still survived. So it's sort of motivating me to go, obviously I want to make bigger and better sounds and higher quality sounds and have more options, but I really want to go a smaller footprint as I possibly can. I have something arriving in the mail in the next couple of days I wish I could talk about, but I can't. But I will make a full video on it, and it is... I have so much hope for it. Fast forward to me 1 week from now, just crying into the instruction manual and it not doing any of the things I want. But I'm trying to stay optimistic, and I think it is going to change a lot of things on my pedal board. So that's coming. Look for that on the next episode. But yeah, looking back at these bootlegs, and what did I pull up for you? I've got one from 2008 here. So this is in New York. So sort of no excuse, right? I'm in New York. I'm living in New York at the time. I have all my gear. I could take whatever I wanted to the gig. And I think what I took was an OC2 and a delay pedal. Most likely it was the DL4, the green box, the old one, the only one at that time, the DL4. and this is from this is the 55 bar, July 9th, 2008. So this is just over 17 years ago. The band is Jojo Mayer, Ollie Rockberger, Nir Felder, Justin Vasquez, maybe Greg Wamare as a guest on this as well, and yours truly. And for the 55 bar and the fact that it's so cramped, this is one of the better sounding ones, I would say, just in terms of, you know what, I'm going to open that up in the iTunes player so I can control the volume a little bit. That would be a really good idea. And so there are some obvious things, like when I listen back to my playing from back then, there are some things like, wow, I'm not sure I could do that still. Yeah, we were not playing that tune slow, for sure. It's a great Ollie Rockberger moments. You see, the nostalgia kicks in, and I remember how much fun we used to have in that band and how sort of carefree we were. Didn't really... I've continued that on. I really... sort of don't care. Like, I'm not like that person who goes to the show with my own music knowing that this exact thing has to be so perfect and we must play this and blah blah blah. There's maybe one thing on one tune that I have that about. Literally in my entire catalog of songs, there's one thing to me that is very important, that it gets played a certain way, and every single other thing I don't give a damn about. It was nice having vocals in the band as well. And vocals from someone who understands harmony as well and has beautiful voicings. Let's go down here. I'm not going to give the whole thing away, but you can hear there I'm using an OC2. That's Jojo Mayer playing drums. It's like the OC2 and Jojo is sort of like the perfect live combination for that sound. That's Justin Vasquez at absolute peak performance era. Not that he doesn't play just as good now, but it was, yeah, there's something about that period where we were playing a lot together that's very special for me. Because we played so many shows, and so many shows I have uploaded to the site. So that was July 9th, 2008. I've got, what have I got here? So this is from a tour in Europe. This is from Edinburgh in Scotland, April 11th, 2009. Playing one of Jojo's tunes called 7. So that's with Odin Varga and Ollie Rockberger and Jojo. That's part of a whole... 2009, we toured all over the world. There is so much in here. We play one of Justin's tunes on one of these gigs with Kenny Goralski, Damon Grant on percussion, Nir Felder on guitar. Just super fun bands that I am so grateful that we got to do. There was one that we did one night only with Sean Rickman on drums and Adam Rogers on guitar, which was absolutely burning. And it's just told me it can't find it on this hard drive, so maybe that's somewhere else. But yeah, what do we got here? And of course, there are all like the live at the 55 bar era tunes that we were playing so often. So if you ever heard that record from 2007, you'll know like Aphelion and Stern Look and Culture and Ali B and all those tunes that we were playing every month, sometimes twice a month. You know, we played at the 55 bar a great deal. Then there's some trio tour stuff with Sean Rickman and Ollie Rockberger. There's stuff from the Baked Potato in LA with Cliff Armand, Justin Vasquez, Dennis Ham. I mean, it's like, it really is like hundreds and hundreds of shows I've managed to get. I've only started doing this maybe the last 2 days, and this is the first time I'm announcing it publicly, so I wanted to make sure there were a bunch up there for anyone who's interested in that. And I am adding the studio albums. If all of them aren't up there as and when you hear this episode of the podcast, do not worry. I am slowly going through and getting all the masters, putting everything together. For the studio albums, I'm going to do high quality audio plus MP3s, and for all the bootlegs, they were essentially MP3 quality to start with, so I'm not going to mess with those. If I have the option, I'll try and give them a kind of a little bit of a fake master in Logic to boost the quality and to get some evenness in them. Other than that, they are as they sound, and I'm also adding little preview clips to each album. That will take even more time, so I appreciate your patience in that. And this is really for those people that were like, hey man, I don't like using streaming services, where can I go buy this music? Well, now you have it. Now you know. It's called The Record Store. Hopefully it'll be around for a very long time, and it's a place I can continually add new stuff to, because as I look back to the nostalgia of touring over the past 20 years, what I really want to do is look forward to doing it all over again. When I look at all of these venues and all of these amazing places around the world, I remember the great music we played, all the people that were in the band with me who were just fantastic, and I remember all of you potentially who may even be listening to this now that I met while I was out there. And I want that to be more of a thing once again. I've kind of been like taking my foot off the gas in terms of touring with my own group. I've been obviously with Vital Information for the past 5 years. I'm back touring with Mike Stern again as a sideman. All of those tour dates you can find at the website, so I'm sure you know about that already. But it would be nice to even it up a little bit. As it used to be, as it always used to be, I would be on tour with a bunch of other people, but I'd also make time for my own band. And with the amount of new music I'm putting out and the new albums that I'm releasing, it makes sense to go out and play more shows. Maybe this is a good time to get in the comments and say, where you're at in the world. And if you're a fan, and if you're the type of fan that wants to download these things and custody your own music and have that for yourself, rather than be sort of beholden to the streaming platforms, let me know in the comments. I would like to understand, it's crazy, right? If I have over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube now, and if 1% of the subscribers on my YouTube channel bought just one bootleg from the store, that would fund the next 1, maybe 2 studio albums. It's kind of crazy how the percentages and the numbers for just 1% of an engaged audience like this could actually facilitate continuing to make music every year forever, if that was an ongoing thing. My God, imagine if 5% of the subscribers on my channel went and bought 2 bootlegs from the store. It's insane how small the percentage of followers has to be that are engaged to facilitate the continuation of making music and making these albums and putting music out there for you. So I'm trying to understand that. Maybe you can help me understand that by getting in the comments and letting me know who you are, and more importantly, where you are. Because I am going to have some capacity after I finish the transcription book. After I finish this initial blast of getting these albums up in the record store, I am going to have some capacity at the end of the year to work on some live shows with my own group for 2026. Probably won't be until the summer of next year at the earliest, but that is the plan, my plan for the end of the year, where I want to invest some time and effort in doing that. So the more of you that get in the comments and tell me, hey, I'm in Melbourne, Australia, or I'm in Ulaanbaatar, or wherever you are. It really doesn't matter. I want to hear from you. One of the things that really makes me smile, one of the great joys of my life is that whenever, do I have one to hand? Yeah. Oops. I'm going to drop the new bass on the floor. Whenever one of these goes out the door, it doesn't matter what it is, but whenever one of my books goes out the door, the signed copies that I do at the website, I sit here, I've got a little Sharpie in the desk, I sit here, I sign them, and I weigh them in the scales, I print the package, I print the shipping, and I ship them out. And one of the great joys of my day when I get to that part, basically I have to do it every day, when I get to that part, is when I hit the print button. I can see all the information of the customer in general on the page, but when I hit the print button, the label pops up in right on big on the screen, and then obviously it comes out my label printer. But right before I hit the button and print it out, I take a quick look at where it's going. And today I sent things to Miami, to Billings, Montana, to somewhere in Idaho, somewhere in North Dakota, just in the US even. I get such a kick out of that. It makes me smile because I think about, wow, there's actually somebody in North Dakota or someone in Billings, Montana who's checking out this thing, and places that I've been before. I get this this memory of having been there and seen these places before. And some of them I look at and I'm like, wow, I've heard of that place, but I've never been there. Man, maybe that would be a cool place to play a show. And it really is. It's a strange little quirk, and it's part of my work day and of my routine, but it's something that gives me a great amount of joy when I see the town or the city name as these books go out the door, and then I take them to the post office and off they go to you guys and girls. But that's something I want to sort of reconnect on with the touring thing as well, because as I go through all these live bootlegs, as I put them up on the site, and remember and listen to them a little bit as well, I'm converting them and mastering here and making previews, so I'm hearing the songs again, and the shows just gives me a great amount of joy to know that all of that happened, that I have some sort of record of it. Like I said, some are much better quality than others, and it gives me hope that people are perhaps still out there that want to listen to live music, and that we can continue doing that and do it for a really long time and make it something that isn't a luxury, but is a part of sort of everyday life in my career and in my music. Hopefully that brings you something that you want in terms of live music and albums, and I know it really fulfills me in a big way when I get to go out and play my own music in front of people. So get in the comments. That's really important. That gives me a lot of really useful information just by leaving a simple comment about perhaps where you are, whether you're into the bootleg thing and having that online store situation going on with the audio, and where I should be headed to with the band next. I've basically locked in the next studio album. I haven't confirmed 100% of every element, so I don't want to talk about it before it's all 100% confirmed, but it's looking really promising to be something very, very interesting and something quite different as well, which is obviously what I'm always looking for. So excited that all of that stuff is happening, and that you're here checking it out and being patient for a 38-minute episode of the podcast or whatever it's been. On that bombshell, let's end there. Appreciate you spending a ton of your very precious time with me, and I'll see you on the next one.